months since the last video, and never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that the video to kind of get me going again was going to be a new bike video. Now it's a little bit windy today, apologies if the audio's affected, but hey, that is what it is, right? I'm going to do my best to try and catch you up to where we are now. So last summer I did the X Tempest ride video, and for about the 6 months after that I was back on the bike. I was riding, nothing huge, but staying injury free, which was the main goal, and just enjoying riding again. I mean, I say nothing huge, I mean look, I did a 200, it was honestly a bit rubbish. Can't even really tell you why, just didn't particularly enjoy it, and honestly I saw it out because I'd started it. I did also do a 300, the Moonrakers and Sunseekers event out of Bristol. Still my favourite event in the calendar. That was ace. Now I had absolutely no right to go and smash out a 300 in the way I did that day. I was so undercooked, but went and did it, really enjoyed it. Took an hour off my previous time. So yeah, how this stuff happens, hey, who knows. But then unfortunately January the 1st rolled round, and literally from the first day of the year till about 2 or 3 weeks ago, it's really not been a good time. Now I'm not going to get into it too much right now, you don't want to hear that, but as it relates to cycling, there's a couple of things that happened that kind of brought us to where we are. Firstly, in February my bike was stolen. That's the titanium CGR, which you know, less than ideal, right? Which meant I then went back to my singular kite. So that's like steel cyclocross frame that I've ridden forever, that had been relegated to commuting only, really. I decided that I wasn't going to rush out and just buy something, because I mean, we all know what a mess the bike industry's in right now, and I didn't want to just end up buying something that I didn't really want long term. So I decided to be patient and just wait, really. So then we get to Easter, and I'm down in the Blackdown Hills, down in Devon, and descending a hill, and I absolutely smash a pothole. Saw it late, got the front wheel out of the way, but back wheel really clattered it. Fortunately I didn't crash, no pinch flat, but as soon as I put the brakes on I could certainly feel that something was up. As it turned out, there was a huge dent in the rim. I mean, so big I had to actually unhook the canties to just get home. Then, to top it all off, I was putting the wheel in the back of the car and just done my back in. So a few weeks of no riding, eventually I'm able to put in an old back wheel in the frame. Brilliant, it fit, I thought. Went out riding, spent the next 3 or 4 rides pretty much just constantly adjusting the wheel in the back dropout. And at that point realised actually the dropout got bent, and yeah, the damage was quite a bit worse than I first thought. So at that point I decided I'd had enough, and it was time to retire the frame. I mean, when you add up, you know, bent dropout, slightly bent fork anyway, the seat post didn't come out anymore, and just the general 9 years of attrition of being my bike, I just wasn't willing to pour any more money into it. I think I probably could have got it back on the road, but it was just more money to end up with a beaten up old jalopy at the end of it. This left me in a position of needing to replace 2 bikes, which you know, again, not ideal, right? Not ideal. Fortunately, you know, I'm in a privileged position where I've got the resources to do that. I needed a bike. This was a really low point for me, you know, mostly because of all the other stuff that was going on in life at that moment, but I just needed a bike. I mean, from practical concerns of commuting through to, like I say, my own sort of mental health and well-being, I need to ride. So that weekend got online, I noticed the Planet X were having a bit of a sale. The Tempests were 200 quid off, and I bought one. Now this is not a bike that I would have normally have gone for. It's 1x11 SRAM rival, but I thought, you know what, this will make a great do-it-all bike for now. Long term it will make a great commuter and probably winter road bike. The other good selling point as well was that it was able to be dispatched within 5 days. And you know, like I said, considering the bike industry at the minute, able to pick something up that quickly that was, you know, gonna tick a lot of my boxes, fine, I'll have one. In terms of the customer experience, it was actually really good from Planet X. I made an order, they got in touch with me the next day, gave me a build date and a dispatch day. Come the day it was built and dispatched, I had my bike within 5 working days. Really couldn't ask for any more. Packaging was pretty amazing as well. It was all really wrapped up well and all cable tied together, so you know, nothing was moving in that box. What was a whole lot less impressive though was the actual build. I mean, not a single bolt that I'd taken out has been greased. I think most of the mudguard and rack mount bolts were all pretty much hand tight at best, but the one that really got to me is that this is a carbon steerer, and so it's got a bung, you know, an expander kind of bung instead of a star nut. And I've been trying out all different stems all week. By the time I got to the 4th stem, I was just again lightly tightening up the preload, and the bung just screwed out. So clearly the torque on that can't have been to spec for it to have just come out as easy as that. So that's a bit slapdash really, isn't it? But apart from that, most of the rest of the build was fine. So in terms of the bike itself, the frame is actually lovely. It's like really nicely finished, welds and stuff are neat and tidy. I mean, I've seen better at more expensive price points, but I think this matches up very well with what else on the market. Very similar sort of finish in that sense to the Ribble. It's got nice kind of laser etched logos and a few little details which is finishing it off. So yeah, it's pretty nice. It's a SRAM rival one, which I mentioned earlier, 1x11. This is a 42 up front with 1142 at the back. Yeah, that's been, you know, fine. Pretty decent going uphill in that sense. Ride position helps with that as well, I think, actually, over the Ribble. We'll get into more of that in a minute. But yeah, it's maybe lacking a little bit of top end. Last Thursday's smash, I certainly ran out of gears at one point and was left dangling on a little bit of a fast kind of gentle downhill that we were going on. But you know, it's a small price to pay at the minute, whilst this is a kind of do-it-all bike for me. In terms of the ride, very different to the Ribble. I mean, it's a very compact frame. It's only a 51 centimeter seat tube in my size compared to 53 on the Ribble, but it's 4 centimeters longer and 4 centimeters lower in the stack. So for me, that's a much more racy type position. Now, of course, in a big scheme of things, it's not a racy position at all. But for me, as a long distance comfort meister, yeah, it feels much racier. But I quite like it. I've put on there the same stem that I had on the Ribble, so I've got a reasonably big riser stem on there now. But of course, it's still lower and still longer. It's kind of made me think, you know, maybe this was the wrong stem on the Ribble. I feel like this bike goes uphill much better, and is that because I'm kind of closer to the front wheel? I feel like the saddle is a little bit more directly over the bottom bracket, and yeah, I'm quite digging it. Now that's in some contrast though to the first few rides, where Actually, it felt super twitchy. You know, I had a kind of fairly normal stem on it to start, less wide handlebars than I'm used to, and honestly there was the first few rides there where I was 50-50 kind of thinking, geez, have I bought the wrong bike here? Like, but actually now I've got it a little bit more set up to my taste. I'm digging it. I really am digging it. Another thing different with the Ribble, I think the frame is actually just a bit more comfortable. Maybe it's just like a little bit more compliant over the bumps. It doesn't feel all noodly or kind of flexy, the frame, but just somehow a little bit more comfortable. Maybe I'm imagining it. Jury's still out maybe on that one, but that's some first impressions anyway. So I'll probably do a much more in-depth look at this bike in 5 or 6 months or so, kind of how I did with the Ribble. I don't think I need to leave it a year this time. On the whole, Planet X Tempest, happy with it so far. So a little bonus segment here on the end. When I recorded the first part of the video, I was a little bit pressed for time, so I thought I'd do another bit and give you a view of the actual bike itself and talk a little bit more about components and what I've done with it since it was new. Let's just have a quick run through some of the components here. Fulcrum 900 wheels. These were the default wheel that just came with the build. Actually, you know what? Their price point really good. I was expecting them to feel a little bit more soggy, and you know what? They're absolutely fine. I'm running 28s on them, so you know that's gonna give you a little bit more comfort maybe than 25s. But I mean, look, I'm sure you could upgrade them to something a little bit lighter, something a bit more aero, but you know, there's nothing wrong with them, I don't think, per se. So I mentioned previously about the SRAM Rival 1 drivetrain. Everything that I said before still stands. The only thing I'd want to add to that is that it is a bit of a clunk into each gear. You know, it's fine, but there's no finesse, I would say. I've messed around a little bit with the finishing kit. You can see there some of those red bits. We've got some Hope spacers, we've got an FSA top cap. I've got some new bar ends and the nuke-proof seat clamp. Some of these bits I just had laying around. I picked up the seat clamp though, and actually, you know what, like, that's a beautiful thing. I actually really like that seat clamp. But yeah, like I say, there was nothing wrong with the rest of the stuff that was there before. It was just that I had a few red bits laying around the house anyway, and I thought it'd just be a nice little finish on the finishing kit with that. I've also put on SDG Bel Air saddle, and frankly an old crap seat post. This was literally just that I happened to have my preferred saddle on a seat post that fit, so I stuck it in. Maybe in the future I would tweak that. Maybe I'm thinking of actually just trying out the stock saddle as well, just to give it a go. On the note of like giving the stock stuff a go, I've talked about before on the channel quite a bit about handlebars. Now, traditionally I've used a Salsa wood chipper bar, but this time around I actually wanted to give a more standard drop bar a go. So you can see here a far more standard type drop bar. Look, I wanted to just give this 3 months, have a go, see if I liked it. And you know what? Now I've got used to it a little bit more, and I've given it a genuine go, because I didn't give this style bar a go properly on the Ribble. Let's be fair. I'm actually finding it quite comfortable. Is it better than the wood chipper? I don't know. Time will tell. I think once I start trying to ride this bike off-road a bit more, I suspect that's when I'm going to find it a little bit more twitchy. But on the whole, I actually find it quite comfortable right now. So hopefully that's given you a little bit more of an idea of where I'm at with the Tempest. On the whole, I'm happy with it, although not ecstatic. But, you know, I think that that's absolutely to be expected. This wasn't going to be the bike that I would have normally bought under any other circumstance. And I think as satisfied as I am with it now is you know, what I could have expected.